right, so I'm a little nervous. So anyone that wants to show me their camera so I can see your face, it's helpful. I understand, obviously, if you can't. But so my name's Jessie. I'm a person living in recovery from substance use disorder. And I have been sober for just under 2.5 years. And I have quite a story. I'm pretty much just like a privileged white chick from New Hampshire. And, you know, my parents are still married. I grew up in like a nice house. We went on vacations. And, you know, I was like pretty popular in high school. I had like was friends with like the in crowd or whatever. One thing I will note about being young, though, I really wanted to fit in with that crowd. And I had gotten bullied when I was in junior high by this kid, and he really tore me down, like, why are you sitting here? Like, no one even likes you. And pretty much just, like, horrified me in the cafeteria. And I remember going home and, like, internalizing those feelings. And, you know, I know today that those feelings were, like, shame and anxiety. But I internalized them. I didn't tell my parents what happened to me. I didn't tell anybody, my friends. I was just so ashamed. And I know it's not the most horrifying situation. Like, I mean, there's way more bigger tragedies that people live through, you know. But I can, like, identify it as a, like, change in thinking time for me. And I remember thinking that, like, I never wanted to feel that way again. And the way I was going to do that was by, like, following the crowd. And I did that, and it worked until it didn't, you know, because it left me feeling like really lost and not knowing who I was. And, you know, I was accepted at that table, you know, and went to the parties, and I had fun, you know, I did have a good time, but I was just like a fraud. And so I found drugs and alcohol, obviously, to cover that. So I did feel comfortable and have confidence. Another thing that happened for me when I was 11, my friend died next to me when I was on the soccer field. She had an aneurysm in her heart. And that was like another tragedy, obviously a trauma that happened to me as, you know, a young person that I remember. And so I started smoking weed and drinking and taking Adderall. Adderall was like my first, well, pot was obviously really steady for me, pot and Adderall. And I went to UNH for 4 years. I studied abroad in Australia for 6 months. And, you know, when I was there, I kind of did that like as a geographical cure because I was so addicted to Adderall in college. Like when I got to Adderall, when I got to college, I started taking so much Adderall that I lost like 50 pounds, and I was like a size 2, and I was getting all this attention from guys, and you know, it just got really out of control. And I was taking like at least 100 milligrams a day. That was just like my baseline. And so I was like, had always wanted to go abroad to Australia. So I was going to keep that promise to myself, and I was going to move there, and then I'd be away from the Adderall, right? But you know how when we like go somewhere, like there we are. And so I found myself in Australia finding like the biggest drug dealer in my dorm, manipulating him so I could get all the coke and the weed that I wanted. You know, I never found Adderall, but I found plenty of coke. And so, you know, I could have been like going on like excursions every weekend and like enjoying myself, right? But instead I was just getting as fucked up as I possibly could. So I graduated from UNH, I don't know how, and my father owns a Toyota dealership on the seacoast in New Hampshire, and I started working for him. And one of the things about me and like not knowing who I was is like I never knew what I wanted to do. Like still to this day, someone says to me like, "What do you want to be when you were younger?" Like I don't have an answer to that question. I did not know. I didn't have any passions because I was afraid to like the wrong thing. I was afraid that someone was going to laugh at my dream. So I attempted to make my father's dream my own, and I went into the car business. And I was pretty good at my job. I became a manager pretty quick. And I met my son's father right after college. And our relationship revolved around like lots of coke. And, you know, like my boyfriend that I had before, I would like have to lie to him, like to like use drugs and like do it behind his back and stuff. So when I met my son's father and I could use with him, it was like, it was great. You know, I can use with him. He accepts me. He doesn't judge me. But that's not the guy that like you get pregnant with, right? And so that happened when I was 25. I got pregnant. And, you know, I stayed clean pretty much through my pregnancy. I was smoking weed the whole time, which is something that like still haunts me because my son has lots of like, you know, he's like ADHD and like anxiety and stuff. And, you know, that could definitely be in part to how much weed I smoked. But it was right after my son was born that Perk 30s entered the picture. My son's father brought home these like little tiny blue pills. And I remember taking like a sliver of one, like a couple times a week. And like I was like a great employee. I was a good like lawnmower and like vacuum cleaner, you know, and I could just get it all done. And that's like when it was working. And it was great. And I remember like I was like, you know, the best mom. And I was just like holding it together. I own my own house, and yeah, so within about 3 years of starting, so I had my son when I was 25. I started using perks, and within about 3 years, I went from taking like that little sliver a couple times a week to taking 10 perk 30s a day, and that's about $300 if you're paying full price. And, you know, it's kind of a long story, but my son's father, his stepdad had the connection. I was the rental manager at my dad's work. I was giving him a free rental car for free perks. And like that ran out one day. He was like, I can't afford your habit, and I'm just going to buy a car because this is like ridiculous. And so I was spending like the flat $300 a day. And like, you can't like manage that for very long, you know? So I could like see the bottom coming, and you know, I was just doing like reckless shit. Like I remember like I would like, and like it sounds stupid, like, but I did not know at this time that I had like a raging heroin addiction. I just thought I was like mentally weak, you know? I would get up in the morning, like I didn't know what opiates did to you. I'd never been dope sick. I just didn't know. I just thought that, like I really wanted these things, and like that I was mentally weak. And I would get up in the morning and I would cry in the shower. And I would be like, I'm not going to do them today. And by lunchtime, I would be like making up an excuse why I had to like drop diapers at the daycare for my son. And I would fly $180 up to Manchester, withdraw $300 from my account. And it was just, you know, the same thing every day. And so like, yeah, I saw the bottom coming. I knew I couldn't maintain. And, you know, by this time somebody had the Suboxone doctor was like, you're going to have to take 3 strips a day. He wasn't like, go to a meeting, like find recovery, you know, like he didn't tell me what recovery was, you know? And like, as an addict, right, that's like what I want to hear. I don't want to hear like, change your lifestyle. Like, you need to work on yourself. Like, I want to hear, okay, give me something that's going to fix me and I'm all set, right? So it sounded good to me. And like this, at this point, I was like still really naive, you know, like I didn't know that it was making me not out. Like I was taking 3 Suboxones a day. I would go home on my lunch break and take my second dose, and I would set my alarm because I would literally nod out. And I was just like, my medicine makes me tired, you know, like, no, like you're like fucking totally jammed right now, you know? So I ended up going through a separation with my son's father because he was still doing perks behind my back. And, you know, it was just an abusive relationship. And so that was really hard. There was like a restraining order, like all this shit. And I'm living, you know, in my house by myself with no one to help me pay the mortgage anymore. I have like full custody of my son. And I was like going through a hard time. And I met this guy. And like, mind you, to this point, like I had problems with coke, ecstasy, like you name it. But I'd never been introduced to heroin. Like no one had ever had it in front of me, offered it to me. Like I never even contemplated like doing it before. I just, I'll never do that, you know, because it was never in front of me. I never had like an opportunity. So I met this guy. His name was Joey. He was from right outside Lawrence, Massachusetts, was from Wilmington. And he had a heroin habit. And I didn't know right away, you know, it was obviously like 2 weeks before I found out or something. But I obviously, you know how we do, like you meet someone and like they move in the next day. Like, so that's what that looked like, you know. And we like actually really did love each other. He was like kind of like my other half, and he really, really cared about me. He was a really good man. But, you know, he was dope sick one day. We met May 31st, 2013, and I think it was like towards the end of June, and he was dope sick, and he didn't want any of the Suboxone. Like, I was like, just take a Suboxone, you know, and he didn't want to, and I couldn't understand why. And so it, like, literally entered my mind. The thought had never entered my mind. The thought came in, and I was like, I could try it. And I could just do it one time, and, like, no one would know, and I could experience it, you know, because I'd heard I had this other friend that I had met, like, 6 months prior that actually introduced me to Joey, and I'd heard her talk about, like, her experiences. Even though she was, like, on the methadone clinic and hadn't used in years, I would hear her talk about it, and I was kind of, like, curious to just understand because it sounded like a different life, you know. So I said, I want to try it, you know, and I thought that, you know, part of me wanted him to, like, try to stop me. Part of me wanted him to say, I love you too much, and I'm not going to let you do that, like, you're out of your mind, you know, and he resisted for, like, a minute, and then he was like, okay, grab your wallet, get in the car, let's fucking go. And because he's an addict, and he's sick. So we drove down to Lawrence, which is like a half hour from where we lived, and he shot me up that day. Like, I didn't even sniff it. I just went straight for the rig. And, yeah, and that was it. It was like, sealed the deal right there that first time. And I remember the first time I did it, it wasn't like the white lights and, like, you know, God coming and kissing me on the forehead or whatever. It felt like really fucking good, but it wasn't like, I don't know if it's because I didn't do enough or whatever. He probably, like, didn't give me that much or something. But it just every day from then on. So within 4 months of picking up heroin, I got arrested at gunpoint in Lawrence. I lost my house. I totaled my car and got a DWI. I lost my job working for my dad that I worked at for 10 years. In my house, I had, like, put my blood, sweat, and tears into, and it was, like, everything to me. So by September, I'm in detox, moving my house that I lived in for 5 years back into the basement of my parents' house. And Joey moved back to Wilmington to his dad's house. So my parents paid cash for me to go to detox, and I ran down to Wilmington to see Joey the day I got out and got high. And it was just like that from then on out. I got a DWI that summer, so I got put on probation. I was on the color code in Massachusetts, you know, for drug screenings. I was, like, sneaking, you know, tucking urine for, like, all my drug screens. I did that for years upon years. Actually got my first felony I have on my record for getting caught at probation, sneaking in urine. I, you know, started, you know, my parents started sending me to treatments. I've been to many detoxes and many treatments and many jail cells. So 2016, my birthday is October 13th. And October 12th, Joey stopped answering the phone one day, and I got a ride down to his house, and I found him dead in his bedroom. And I obviously tried to save him and did CPR, and he didn't make it back. You know, I'd seen him overdose a bunch of times. I'd overdosed myself a bunch of times. But yeah, that was the real deal. And it's a lot different when they don't get back up. But I got arrested the next day. I missed his funeral services because I was locked up. And so I'm in Valley Street Jail, which is like one of the worst jails in the country. It's my birthday. My boyfriend's dead. I didn't even have anybody to call. Like, literally, if that's not fucking rock bottom, like, I don't know what is. But it didn't stop me either. That just gave me more of an excuse why I had a right to get high. And, you know, I'd heard stories about girls losing their boyfriends, and I literally couldn't imagine. And I said, I was in treatment the week before he died, and I got kicked out. The girl I got kicked out with, that I had given an Adderall to with, I had given her an Adderall because I was sneaking Adderall into the sober house. She overdosed and died on Monday, and Joey overdosed and died on Wednesday. And when I was at Joey's house while the paramedics were working on him, I got the phone call from the owner of the sober living that said Sarah's dead. And she was calling me because she was pissed at me because, like, I brought her back out. I gave her that drug that got her kicked out of treatment. And I said, Joey's dead too. So I lost two people, my friend and my boyfriend, within 10 minutes. So I would go on to, like, you know, in and out of the psych ward. I was, like, on the run in Portland. But I would, like, go to treatment, you know, go to the psych ward, run away. Like, it was, like, this cycle. And I'm trying to think where I was. But, like, just crazy shit. Like, I'd get picked up. My mom would bail me out of jail. And, or I'd get, like, PR'd to the sober house. This is after Joey died. And so I'm going to the sober house, and I'm like, Mom, we got to stop at the drugstore so I can fill my prescription. And she's thinking I mean my Wellbutrin, my antidepressant. And I'm filling my Adderall script on the way to sober living because I couldn't be sober for like 5 minutes. And I knew I was getting drug tested when I got there, and I knew that, like, my release orders, you know, ordered me there. And the insanity was like, I'll just say I took one when I was in jail, and then they'll drug test me in a couple of days and it'll be out of my system. But I couldn't stop taking them, so it didn't fucking matter. You know, my parents probably spent over $100,000 to try to get me well, and in the end, it was jail that did it. I was on drug court after Joey died, and I got booked into the county jail in my town 17 times in 2 years because they, like, sanction you. You know, like, if you do something wrong when you're on drug court, they're like, go spend a night in jail, go spend a week in jail. You know, the story gets, like, kind of even crazier. I, like, end up getting involved with a guy on drug court. You know, I, like, ended up getting pregnant because I thought that, like, you know, that would fill this void. And he ended up being, like, a really dangerous guy. And I didn't keep the pregnancy, which was something that was very, very hard for me. And that was when I got terminated from drug court. And that was 2018 in, like, March. And I got terminated not for using drugs, but because I could not say no to this guy. And, like, they had caught us together so many times. They knew that I had been pregnant. Like, they knew the whole thing. They knew we committed a crime together. He, like, burglarized a laundromat or something one night. And they were like, if we catch you with him again, like, you're getting a 2 to 4 prison sentence. And still he called me from county jail, and I answered the phone. And they were like, you're terminated. And so I got a 12-month sentence. I only ended up serving like a little less than 6 months of that because I manipulate the system, and I'm a white chick, and they just don't care, So like the drug court judge let me out early because she knew me by then. And I was on the bracelet. And some of the only reasons that I'm clean today is because God took away my ability to shoot drugs. Like, I literally have no veins left. I was like shooting so much coke in the end that I literally went to give blood. I'm 2.5 years sober, and they literally had to stick me like 16 times like a couple days ago. Like, I still have no veins. And then I didn't want to give up my freedom at the same time too. Like, I knew that. And part of my story is that when I did get out of jail that time, I filled that Adderall prescription, and like I say I'm 2.5 years sober, but like I did abuse Adderall some of that time. And I know that's not like the AA way, but I used harm reduction, and it led me to real sobriety. And, it's my personal choice that my sobriety date is what I say it is. So, February 17th of 2018 is the day that I use as my sobriety date. But, I filled that Adderall and that Vyvanse prescription when I got out. And, because it was legal, because like I could take that on probation still. And it ended up like bringing me to my knees. I was like having sex with this kid for Adderall, like just old behaviors. Here I am like going to AA and like trying to like do this program, but yet like I'm meeting some kid and fucking him in the back of his car, so I can get the Adderall that I need so I can go to work. And I ended up just not wanting to do it anymore. And I remember, like, this is kind of something I talk about in the halls, is like I had one of those God moments. I used to pray to Joey a lot, because I didn't know if there was God. And I just said, like, whatever is out there, like, please come and help me, because, like, I'm going to die. Like, I'm probably going to die, like, 20 years earlier than I should anyway because of the amount of Adderall I've taken. My heart is not probably going to last as long as it should. But I just knew I was going to die, and I was crying in my room, and something just like I like walked to the bathroom and I flushed the pills, and like that wasn't me, so like something just like kind of said to me like, we're going to do this, and so I work a program now. And I'm in grad school getting my master's. I've been working at a recovery center, and I've had a hard time during COVID, and I went to see a medium recently, actually, and she told me that it was like really amazing. Like, she was like, oh, your boyfriend died of a drug overdose. Like, you have his name tattooed on your arm. Like, all these crazy things that, like, she couldn't have known, And she says that Joey's an earthbound soul, which means he hasn't crossed onto the other side. And it has a lot to do with me. She said that I'm holding him back. And I was like, well, what do we do? And she said, well, we can help him cross over tonight. And he ended up not being willing to cross over at the end. And I know that that's true because the second that she said we can help him cross over, I was like, I don't want him to go. He's mine, And, like, not that I don't want him to be in heaven and at peace, but, like, there was this fear that came to me. Like, I knew, because I saw a medium way back, and she had told me that he was with me. So, like, I find comfort in that and knowing that he's with me. I obviously want him to, like, move on and all that. But so that was 3.5 years ago that he died, and I'm still, like, dealing with his death. I had to like put men down too, because like I was using men when I got out of jail too. It was like juggling different guys and, you know, just using the outside validation and the attention. And, you know, I was just like, I was just powerless over it. So I just made a decision that like, and I do want to meet somebody, you know, I'm 36 and I have an 11-year-old son. I would like to like meet someone and like have a couple more kids. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm not going to meet that guy by like fucking him in the back of his car after the AA meeting, right? Like, so like get it together. So I didn't date at all since I went like 16 months without having sex or like engaging in anything. So since COVID, yeah, I'm like seeing somebody now, and I'm actually at his house right now. But so yeah, so that's kind of my story. I just got another job. I don't know, but I don't think I talked much about my job. But I worked at a recovery center, and I really loved it. But I lost that job for something that was really unfair, and it was really hard for me because I was really good at it and I really liked it. But yeah, I'm supposed to be starting a new job soon. I don't go to enough meetings, and I don't take all the suggestions, but I keep trying. And I try to, you know, do service work to help other people. And I have like good friends in my life today. I have my son back. And yeah, all the like promises are coming true for me. So I know like if I work it even harder, things could be even better. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's it, guys.
Nothing to say, I can't believe I didn't